Today we're talking about the principles of learning and teaching. That's the Praxis PLT. I'll be going over some questions in the 5622, but this applies really for any grade level of the PLT or similar exam like the PPR. We're going to be talking scenario questions today, how to think like a test maker, work backwards, and make those scenario questions the easiest ones you've ever had on the exam. My name's Kathleen Jasper. I'm an expert on this test and other teacher certification exams. Let's get started. All right, so if you're trying to get certified in any state in the United States as a teacher, you may have to take the Praxis PLT, Principles of Learning and Teaching, or a test like it. For example, in Texas, it's called the PPR. In Florida, it's called the Professional Ed. This is a test that governs the teaching profession. It's going to have everything from laws and ethics and principles governing the profession. It's also going to have things about reading in the content area, struggling students, classroom management, looking at data, making data-driven decisions. It's got a lot, and it's packed full of scenarios. And I know that when you're starting off with these teacher certification exams, the scenarios tend to be the hardest, especially if you haven't been in the classroom for a long time. And so I'm going to teach you using some examples from my study guide. I have study guides for all the PLTs, but we're going to specifically use it for the elementary education. And I'm going to show you how to work backwards and tackle those scenario type questions. Now, you might ask, why do they have these questions? They seem like they have more than one correct answer. When I get these scenario questions, I think it could be A, B, or C. They all sound good to me. Well, they are designed that way. They want to make sure that you can identify bad classroom practices and get rid of them and zero in on good classroom practices. So we're going to have to pay attention to what I like to call good words when it comes to the PLT especially. Now, in the back of my study guides, I have a good words list. It's got all the vocabulary that I consider good words. It comes from the test specifications. These are words and practices that show up over and over and over again because they are on the exam. They are in the correct answer choices on the exam. So I'm going to show you how to identify them, but let's just go over a few right now that you should be on the lookout for when looking at your answer choices. All right, let's just start with classroom management. Anything that references practice routines and procedures in the classroom or modeling good routines and procedures for students is going to be a good answer. Remember, students love routines. Your principal wants to know that you have your classroom management under control. The state that is certifying you wants to know that you have your classroom management under control. So you will have some questions about routines and procedures in the classroom, and we want to make sure that you look for those in the correct answer choices. Another good word or practice is data-driven decision-making. So it might not say data-driven decision-making in the answer choices, but it might have something where a teacher is looking at data or observing her students or looking at quizzes to determine where students are low and then prescribing interventions or deciding how to move on the next day with the information she gleaned or he gleaned from that data. That is data-driven decision-making. It comes in all shapes and sizes, but look for it in the correct answer choices, especially on this test. Another thing you want to be on the lookout for the Praxis PLT and other exams like it is identifying critical thinking activities in the answer choices and matching that to any kind of critical thinking you have in the question stem. It's important that we move from rote memory and recall skills to more complex critical thinking skills like analysis, evaluation, application. Those skills are more complex, they involve more rigor, and it's really important that we teach students those skills. So we want to make sure that our teachers are not just asking questions that have students recall definitions that they memorized. We want them to understand the how and the why and be able to explain it to their peers, dig deeper into content, read deeper, think more critically. That is our job as teachers. So we want to be on the lookout for answer choices that have that that in them. Now, there are some bad words you can also avoid. Now, these are not necessarily bad practices in the real world. For example, extra homework. That is typically attached to the wrong answer choice on this exam. Now, if you're someone like me who grew up with a lot of homework and homework helped you to become a better mathematician or a reader, you might be inclined to choose more homework because it worked for you. But typically, more homework is attached to students who are struggling on this particular exam, and therefore it's typically not the best answer choice. So stay away from worksheets, extra homework, things that don't necessarily help a student get better when they are struggling. Another thing to stay away from is putting it on to the parents. So for sure, in real life, we call parents, we ask for their help, we update them when kids are doing well, and we also update them when their kids are struggling either with behavior or with their grades. But on this exam, stay away from answer choices where you're sort of reaching out to the parents as your first resort. We want to make sure that we handle most things in our classroom first, especially on this exam. So while we would involve parents most of the time in things, on this exam, it's typically attached to something that makes it the wrong answer. So be on the lookout for that. All right, let's put it into practice. Let me show you what this looks like on the exam. I'm going to use 2 scenario questions from my Praxis PLT study guide 5622. Some of you may have this already, or you might be interested in buying it. Let me show you a couple of the practice test questions you'll see on that. Let's hop over to my presentation. All right, so let's have a look at this question here. You can see that I'm going to start with my answer choices first. I'm going to think like a test maker and work backwards. So A says a 5-question quiz that includes at least 2 division problems. All right, I like a quiz. It is formative assessment, but 5 questions, I don't know. I don't love this answer choice. I'm not going to cross it off, but I'm not going to circle it. B, a pre-assessment. All right, I like a pre-assessment because we can figure out preconceptions, misconceptions, and all that. On addition, subtraction, and multiplication facts through 12. All right, prerequisite skills, important. C, a paired activity where students explain how to solve division problems to one another. This sounds like critical thinking to me. If I have to explain how to solve division problems, I have to have a relatively high level of understanding. I like C just based on what we're requiring the student to do. And D, a game involving the whole class that includes multiplication and division games or facts. I like a game, but on this test, typically a game needs to be very targeted. It needs to be aligned to the standards. It needs to be aligned to what we're trying to do. C looks like it's my best answer. A, B, and D are okay, but not great. Let's have a look at the scenario now. A math teacher wants to assess whether his 4th grade students understand the concept of division. Which of the following assessments is the best formative assessment for the teacher to use? Well, a quiz is a formative assessment, but a 5-question quiz is not the best. Observing a paired activity and watching students explain is also a formative assessment that gives you a lot of powerful qualitative anecdotal data. So C is still the best. Pre-assessment on addition, subtraction, multiplication facts. Those are prerequisites for division, but not division. So A and B are out. And D, a game, multiplication and division facts. That's not going to zero in on if they really understand the concept of division. So D is out. C is the best formative assessment. It's high level. It's critical thinking. You're going to get a better picture of the student. C is the best answer. All right, I love going over questions like this for the PLT because you have this big data set here and you start to have heart palpitations. You've got some long answer choices here and then, of course, your scenario up here. But you don't even have to look at this 9 times out of 10. Let's think like a test maker and go straight to the answer choices first. A, have the teacher of Class D lead professional development on how to increase achievement. Well, I like professional development and I like student achievement. I'm going to leave A. B, disaggregate the data to determine the specific areas of need. B has got a lot of good words in it. Disaggregate the data, that's all over the test specifications. And if I'm thinking like a test maker, I know that disaggregate data is a good word and I should probably make this my answer. Then we have specific areas of need. That's very important as teachers because we have to zero in on what the kids need and then figure that out. What we can see here is we have this data set below meets and exceed, and we have class A, B, C, and D. This is just general data. Disaggregate means I'm going to look at this group of kids and figure out who they are, and they're below. So where are they the lowest? What can I work on? These students are doing a little bit better in meets. What are they doing well in? Who are their teachers? What are they doing? And these kids here, you can see exceeds. They're doing very, very well. what skills are they doing well in? In class D, you can see whoever's teaching this class has way more exceeds. I'd like to disaggregate the data and figure out what that teacher is doing. Maybe I can apply that to my classroom over here with students who are having a hard time. So disaggregate the data is powerful. It's very important. B looks like it's my answer. C, give another exam in the following weeks and compare the data. Yeah, it talks about data here, comparing it, but it's not as good as B. And D, have the teacher of class A work with the teacher of class D. That's wrong for the same reason A is wrong. Too general. B has got all the good words. Let's read the scenario just in case. Let's make sure we're on the right track. The fourth grade team has just received reading scores on a mid-year benchmark assessment. The team is meeting in their PLC to discuss the data. What would be the most effective next step? Next step. We've got the data. It's pretty general. It's just below meets and exceeds. What do we do now? Well, we dig in. We disaggregate the data as a team, and we figure out how we can help our students most. B is the best answer. Think like a test maker, work backwards, zero in on those good words, and you're going to do great on this exam. Now, don't forget to head over to KathleenJasper.com. I've got study guides for the PLT. I have online courses for the PLT. I have YouTube videos for the PLT. I have free webinars for the PLT. I know this exam like the back of my hand. I want to help you with it. So whether you decide to use our free resources or our paid resources, we are here for you. Check us out at KathleenJasper.com or on Amazon.com, and you can get all of our resources there. Thank you so much and have a great day.